It's not working. That's fine. Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's 7 o'clock. I want to open the regular town council meeting for Monday, April 28th. You all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Mr. Weaver, how are you? Good to see you. We have a couple of folks who want to have public input this evening. I'd like to start that off. Victoria Hubbard, 400 Clara Court, please come up.
Since you mentioned my name and address, do you want me to mention it also?
You don't have to.
Okay.
Save yourself some time.
All right. So I would like to make a comment, not so much about what was pulled today from the agenda, but rather about some of the frustration that the citizens are feeling with regards to the process overall. And it's in regards to transparency. So the Oxford Dictionary defines transparency as the ability to perceive or detect easily. And both Councilmember Andrews and our mayor have used those words in the flyers that we've all received in our homes over the last 4 to 6 weeks. So from Councilmember Andrews' mailer, he says, solve problems with integrity and transparency, no hidden agendas. From the mayor's mailer, he says, efforts to streamline communication between the council and residents further underline our commitment to transparency. So as I was looking at those mailers and the frustration that some of us feel about what has been happening, I thought back to the movie The Princess Bride. And follow me on this thread. In the movie The Princess Bride, there are two characters, Vizzini. He keeps using the word inconceivable. And the other character, Inigo Montoya, says, you keep mentioning this word, and I do not think you understand the meaning of it. Well, I would say the same thing. We keep using the word transparency, but I don't really know that we really understand what transparency means to the rest of us in the community. I think transparency means open in the light of day, easily accessible. Such transparency allows for accountability. It builds trust, and it allows the citizens of our town to more fully participate as to how our town should be run. And I recognize that in some instances, the town council and the mayor cannot be fully transparent. There are negotiations, but we as citizens, when it came to this situation, we're not even informed of the negotiations. We were just told of what the perceived positive impacts were without having any information as to what the real negative impacts would be. And part of it, the frustration, at least in my part, is I drive around Dallas-Fort Worth area every week. I drive and I see huge signage, often with QR codes. And for zoning changes, and those QR codes provide information that allows the residents to pull up, when is it happening? What's going to change? What isn't going to change? How is it going to affect you? But in our case, we don't have that. And I understand that it is not part of our ordinance, but are we really okay with only abiding by the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law? That is how we as a council, and I include myself as a newly soon-to-be incoming council member, we should rise above it. We should be following the spirit of the law. So I urge the mayor and the council that if something like this comes up again, that the community be given sufficient notice, and not by putting it on a sign on the board outside or putting it on our truly clunky website, because we are living in 2025. I think we can do way better than that. But make as much information as possible available to the citizens so that they recognize that those sitting on these days are representing those sitting out here. Those not attending, those may be watching us via the video, and not just the interest of the council. Because the mayor keeps speaking about his vision for 2035, but that vision needs to match what we as citizens of Copper Canyon envision, and not just what 6 people that sit up here envision. Thank you.
Thank you. Ted Stranzik, 1020 Newberry Trail.
Ted Stranzik, 1020 North Berry Trail Court. Thank you, gentlemen. Just a couple of comments on the agenda in general. In reading through it and looking at last month's activity on the budget, there were 2 items on there that I think need to be closely monitored. First one is on the police budget itself. I remember you saying, Steve, that the police budget will be about, over the next 10 years, average about $500,000 a year. Well, it's $643,000 this year. And we're going to hire more policemen. And so that item seems to be escalating at a rather alarming rate. Not that it's needed, but I think it needs to be controlled and monitored closer. The second part of that same budget has to do with our cars. Evidently, the maintenance budget for the cars has now been exceeded after 4 months. What's going on there? We got brand new cars, and we've already spent our entire budget for the year on maintenance. So that needs to be looked at in some fashion. When you look at what we're doing in this council and what we're doing in P&Z, it's been my observation that people are not reading and discerning what's in the budget, what's in the agenda, what's in the handouts. And read and discern means just that. And we're not doing it. You're not doing it. And we need to have everybody on board with their opinions, not just a couple people from the audience. I don't hear a lot of discussion from anyone on the council on a lot of items. And I think there needs to be more of that going on so the people can understand that you're discerning what in fact you're approving, instead of just saying, yeah, okay, do I hear a motion for approval? And it's done. We need to do more. As far as this issue with the buttons, just one comment. Anybody who thinks that planned development is a good idea needs to basically quit. It's a bad idea. Its track record since I've been here has been nothing but negative. All it is an excuse to compromise our ordinances, diminish our ordinances, and in the process, we end up with garages that face the street, improper placement, a whole litany of issues that are not in accordance with our ordinances, but are compromised. And that needs to be looked at by the committee when the time comes up. It's not a good idea. We have a issue with TNP on looking at the engineering design manual. And that's a great thing. It really is. That manual needs to be revised. When I look at the contract, and I've looked at just a few in my career, I'm not sure I fully understand how that contract is going to be presented, developed, and in turn presented to the council and to the people. There needs to be a lot of definitive red line, what's going on and time to absorb those changes and not just one night say, well, we got 50% done, here it is, and it's done. No, 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 no. We need to be able to discuss those items in detail because we really do need the change. And the change has got to be for the better, for all concerned. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Anybody else? Mr. Pape, come on up.
Mark Pape, 10250 Meadow Lake Drive. I just wanted to let you know, for those of you who don't know, Bobby Mitchell was attacked in her home last weekend. Her husband was killed, and their funeral service for her husband is this Saturday at Westside Baptist Church at 11 o'clock. So I think, she has been a very important person for our town. And I would encourage you all to give a moment of thought to Bobby and her family.
Thank you, Mark. I was going to make a couple of comments about Bobby. You did beat me to it. Anybody else, public input before we shift gears? As Mr. Pape said, Bobby Mitchell and her husband suffered from an incredibly violent situation at home. Her husband was killed and she was put in the hospital. I think our town goes without saying that we extend our deepest condolences to the Mitchell family, and hope that Commissioner Mitchell's strength, courage, and commitment to public service remain an inspiration to us all. I think she's been fantastic for so many years. She's done so many good things for this town. And so what I'd ask everybody to do is join me in a moment of silence for her husband. Thank you. To add what Mark said, let me just reiterate this so everybody can write it down if you have a pen and paper. If you don't have it, you can spend a minute to get it. But there was a visitation on Friday, the 2nd of May at the Westside Baptist Church. The address is 900 Bel Air Boulevard in Louisville from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we can get you that information if you'd like. And then the funeral will be the following day, Saturday the 3rd at Westside Baptist at 11 a.m. So those of you who have the ability to be there, I'm sure the family would appreciate your support. The burial will be after the funeral service at the Old Hall Cemetery, which is at 1200 McGee Lane in Louisville. All of you also, just so you know, I didn't address this, but I don't look like Ron because I'm not Ron. Ron had an accident on his UTV and wound up rolling it. He's didn't break anything, but he's got bruised ribs and he's kind of beat up. So he couldn't make the meeting tonight. So I'm sitting here in his place. Those of you who want to send Ron a note saying, I hope you feel better, that would be great. I'm sure he'd appreciate that. Let's move on to reports, staff reports.
Thank you, Pro Tem.
First, Troy.
Yes. Just a quick highlights of the some of the staff report is on April 17th. We had an opportunity to meet with Denton County as it relates to Estates Bridge getting replaced. It's something we've been talking about for several years now, and they've hired the engineering firm, and so they're on board. Chris and I met with them last week. They're going to start doing some preliminary work. Surveyors will be out next week, and so we're at the very early stages of this project. We have reached out to several of the landowners around the bridge to ensure that we're going to bring them in the loop as we start getting more and more information about the project as well. So just want to let everybody know that that project is finally come to reality. So that is well underway. Also, this Friday, May 2nd, the town hall in the office space, we're going to redo all of our floors. So to make that happen over the weekend, we're going to start a little early on Friday. So our offices will be shut down around 1 o'clock to allow the crews to come in, move all the furniture and do what they've got to do. Along with that, we had our 3-year inspection of all of our railroad crossings. And as you guys know, those are quiet zones. And there were some new regulations that came out related to signage. So we've got to update all of our signs. Our current signs are a little small and they wanted them updated. So we're in the process of ordering those signs and getting those put out, and so that those can be maintained as quiet zones. And so we have a while to get that done. So we're working through some of those things. Also, I know some of you guys are wondering about what's happened to Charter and Spectrum. They're still waiting for some permits through CoServe as it relates to the aerials, because once they attach to their poles, there's some agreements that got to be signed as well as some permits. So all the underground work, probably about 98% of it's been completed, and y'all saw that happen a couple months ago. And so they still got to do some aerial work on those poles as soon as they get the clearance from CoServe. So that's still going on there. Also, just another quick update. We had received a call related to sales tax and online orders. And there's some folks had called us and said that they have seen an additional tax on their online orders. And I'll let Pro Tem Hill kind of describe what some of that was.
Tell me again, so you've had people saying that there's an increase in tax or something?
Yeah, there was an increase in tax related to online orders that they noticed here recently.
No. I didn't see necessarily what you've seen or
Right.
what you heard, but just so that the record is straight on the taxes in town, we've lowered the taxes twice. Those of you who may see things from the state that indicate that there's a state allocation for local jurisdiction, that's part of the natural sales tax of the state. So in 2016, if you went down the street and bought a $10 shirt, you were going to pay 8.25% tax on that $10 shirt. If you ordered that same shirt from Oklahoma online and it was mailed to your house, you didn't pay state tax. So e-commerce went nuts. And in 2019, the state of Texas joined a lot of other states around the union to say, wait a second, this e-commerce stuff is a little out of control. We can't let people, circumvent state tax, sales tax. So we're going to enact the same taxes that's online as we have in the retail store. So if you go in 2020 to a retail store and buy that $10 shirt, you're going to still pay 8.25% to Texas. Well, if you buy it online, you're still going to pay 8.25% to Texas. You won't pay Oklahoma state tax if you buy it from Oklahoma or from Germany. You may get some VAT, but you still need to pay state taxes. 2% of that 8.25% tax that the state levies, whether you like it or not, comes in local jurisdiction. And the net is the local jurisdiction has some ability to direct some of those funds. And a couple of years ago, the council, I think wisely, chose to put half of the 2% that we get to the PD, which I'm sure Chief Ty appreciates. But the reality is, because we were new, we didn't know what we needed. We wanted to make sure we had enough juice for the PDB. So long story short, if you see some sort of allocation to a CCPD or to something else in town, all that is the same tax you've always paid. It's just more transparency from the state of Texas to say, here's where it's going. That's all it is. There's no raise in tax. There's no additional tax. There's no secret levy, right?
Right.
That's
correct.
Does that address
Yes.
the question that's
Yes,
being asked? Okay.
it does.
So I hope that's clear. There's no tax increase. The state's going to tax us 8.25% on our purchases, whether we like it or not. I didn't like it when I had to pay online tax. The state, like you didn't either. But the net is, if we didn't do anything with the PD, we'd still get 2% back or go in general fund. End of conversation, right?
Those kind of like sales and entertainment commerce.
Yeah. Now here's the little, because I'm the financial officer, I'll share this. Here's the gotcha with the reason why the town would like a long 407 some retail. Because if all the town has, if we have nothing but residential homes, the only sales tax we get is the 2% that comes back on state purchases or state tax that you pay when you pay your state tax online or whatever, mostly online. If you go to Louisville and pay your tax to them, it goes back to Louisville. But if you go to a store in Copper Canyon and you buy something and you live in Denton, we get the sales tax. We get the 2%. That's the difference, which is why towns want some retail generally, because they get state tax funding from that sales, which is why Bartonville liked it or Louisville likes it. Flower Mound certainly likes it. They enjoy a whole lot of sales tax at the intersection of 2499 and 407. 3 million square feet of retail, that's a lot of sales tax. So that's the sales tax game. So don't be confused. It's pretty simple.
One point I might make is that you mentioned Oklahoma, their sales tax is 10%. So we're not picking that up, we're only picking up.
We're not paying the 10%, we pay it in a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you go to Oklahoma and buy a Coke, then you're gonna pay 10%. But if you buy online,
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
You are saying. it's not-
that's right.
you're not
That's the
picking
game.
for Oklahoma.
So long story short, no new taxes. Just, I'm assuming, I don't know what people saw, but I'm assuming if it's new, it's that the state's just being more transparent about where things are going.
That's my understanding,
So that's
correct.
fine. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Chief Ty, you got any updates for us?
Yeah.
That work, Jim, recognize a couple of these subdivision developments. Maybe it'd be helpful if, like, if there were a number of lots or something to, keep people aware of what's going on. This is the first I've seen it, so I'm just gonna ask for Rochelle Stevens edition, using multi-gen, and then Hickory Hills 10 acre. I didn't recognize them. Having a conversation on those, what those might be.
On which one's, Chase?
Rochelle Stevens.
So that was the one right across the street. It's three lots. And so Sheila's been working with them on that.
They're platting their lots.
Yeah.
It's
Gotcha.
unplatted, so it's just
Yeah, I
one
figured.
lot. Yeah,
So that's not a big development.
correct.
Right.
No.
Now, the bigger developments are your Cover Knolls, your Jernigan Estates, and Quarter Horse Finale Ranch.
So all like the Guzman, that's just like platting.
Right.
Or something to that
Yep.
effect, so,
Okay.
Yeah, Guzman's the one around the corner at the north end of town, Copper Canyon Road. It's the one they want to do the fourth, on that curve.
And we haven't heard from them in 3 or 4 weeks. So sometimes these things come up and they want to plat one piece of property or two, and then they decide, no, they're not going to do that.
Right, no, that makes sense. It's just kind of the same line items about the property development, so they look similar, but obviously one's much different, so a little asterisk
Yeah.
explaining what it is would be helpful to everybody when they see it.
Yeah. Noted. Chief?
Okay, so it's only partial for the month of April. We continue to experience low crime rate. Let's hope we continue that. So we only had about 25 calls for service. We're currently about 189 citations. I haven't looked at the ones from today. We've generated 5 actual criminal cases. Most of them are kind of fraud and forgery, so please be watching your credit reports and your bank accounts to make sure there's no unauthorized transactions going on. I continue to work with the North Texas Crime Prevention Association. They also graciously provided us some very needed training. It's mandated. We had to take trauma-informed sexual assault training, so I'm thankful for that. I got to attend the ESD meeting. Kudos to Chief On and his crew. They continue to do very good work for not just the county, but us as well. Since it's warming up, please make sure you're closing your garages and not leaving any type of items that might look high value in your vehicles, because unfortunately criminals, they may not be from here, but they like to travel through here. So just kind of nip that in the bud by keeping your stuff locked up. Okay. And if you're going to be going out on vacation washes, please use the form online to let us know so that we can try and keep an eye as well. Okay. And by all means, if any time you need to come in, have a question, feel free to contact us in the office or use our online form to let us know that you have concerns, or thoughts, or ideas that can make our service better for you guys.
Thank you. Engineering, Chris?
Nothing to add to hide besides what I've already put in the plan sheets with
Okay,
Troy.
thank you. Fire, Chief?
Evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having me. Just maybe some clarification on the sales tax thing. We do serve several towns. And if you do live in Argyle, you are voting on a sales tax because Argyle itself is 8.25, just like most towns around us, but they have some ETJ areas out west of 35 or the new Chick-fil-A, and that's in county unincorporated areas. So they're looking to try to raise their sales tax for those areas. So maybe people are getting emails somehow tied to Argyle. So I'm just suggesting that could be why there's emails about that. I'm not saying that is, but I just wanted, I do get to see other towns and what's going on, and that is on their ballot, not yours.
So that's to raise sales
So they
tax?
don't have, they pay just a 6.25 in those areas because it's unincorporated in their ETJ. And so they are electing to add, just like the rest of town, to add the other 2%, I guess, to that. But that's just in Argyle and just in their ETJ. So it wouldn't apply at all to Copper Canyon. But I know sometimes that even I get emails from different people who are connecting me, and I get towns, and I don't live in that town. And so that's the only thing I could suggest is why maybe somebody's getting emails about that. Because if they did live in that area, particularly the Harvest area, if you're familiar with the Harvest area, about half of Harvest is in Argyle's ETJ, and the other half's in North Lakes. And so if you lived in Harvest, then you'd probably have that, maybe getting emails about that. So again, that's way on the other side of 35. So nowhere here near here, but emails are global. So just saying that could be why people are getting emails about that. So not really a fire department thing, but I just thought I'd put that out there. Just a food for thought.
All I know is that I'm paying 8.25% no matter where I buy in Texas.
That's right. And it's based on where it's received. Like you said, it's not if you buy something in Oklahoma, it's
You
where
can't change that.
it's where it ends up. So if you buy something from Amazon, you pay from the destination, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not a tax expert. Just thought I would just pass along that information. So anyway, for March was a good month for us. It's our first full month of the new ambulance service. It stayed pretty busy. We made about 60 calls, so it was a good, busy month for it. But it was the first, I guess you'd say first, we put it in service in February, and March was our first, full month, looking at the data and see how they're doing on calls, stuff like that. So it's been very beneficial. It was really good because March was also, across our district, was our busiest month ever. And I say busiest month ever because the date or the month that was most busiest goes all the way back to Snowmageddon in February of 21. So as crazy as that day was, we had just a normal regular day and we surpassed that by about 3 calls. So just an interesting tidbit about how the area that we serve is growing. March was also important because we had a workshop with our Board of Commissioners, our ESD 1 and 2 commissioners come together, and we worked on our capital asset planning strategies, our policy, and our schedule. So the board gave direction as far as what the policy, how often do we replace our vehicles, what about stations and those things. And so they put forth and adopted that policy, which helped us devise a schedule like, okay, here's all my fire engines, how soon do they get replaced? And so it allows us to kind of plan strategically so that we can plan out our future. So that was a big deal. And a couple of weeks later, we followed that up. As the chief was saying, we had our community advisory stakeholder meeting where we kind of bring in a lot of community leaders across our district, everything from town administrators, police chiefs, superintendents of school districts, and just let them see. We kind of talk about everything we're working on and kind of give them an update on our strategic plan. And so it was a good meeting. We talked about the capital asset planning, and we just gave an update on how we're doing. We do that twice a year. This is our third time to do it, and it's really a great way to get feedback and talk to our community leaders. We also had, and that was in March, that was in April 16th. So we've had a lot of activities going on. We've got some activities coming up I'd like to share. We have our open house and carry load event on May 17th. That's from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So that's where we do a big carry load. We do 6-7 miles. We wear our gear. We go. It goes through Lantana, ends up back at our station. We have an open house, cook free hamburgers and hot dogs, have a bounce house for kids. It's just a great way to invite the community into our station and get to meet the firefighters. So we enjoy doing that. Then also on May 23rd, we have our biannual blood drive. So on Memorial Day, we always honor Memorial Day. We're doing a blood drive, and then we do it again on September 11th. It's just our way of kind of giving back and doing those blood drives. So a lot of good things, but a couple new things we're doing that we haven't really marketed yet. We're always looking for ideas to kind of give back to the community, and we get a lot of phone calls. It's unfortunate, but we get phone calls, hey, my mother died, or maybe my grandfather died, and I've got all these old prescriptions. I don't know what to do with them. They've just got a bag of them. What do I do? So we've been doing some research. We got a grant for this, but we're trying it out. We're going to probably start marketing more, but All of our fire stations in the lobby have a box that's got these envelopes in them, and they're prepaid envelopes. Just come by, you can pick up the envelope, it's pre-posted, paid. You put the medication in there, you mail it off free of charge, and they take it and disintegrate it. So it's something we're trying to do. We're going to try to market that because we always get those crazy phone calls like, hey, what do we do? We say, hey, we found a need. Let's see if we can find a way to solve that problem because they're kind of hard to get rid of. You hate to just throw them away. You're afraid what's going to happen to them. So it's something we're doing. Another thing a lot of people don't know we do is we take old expired fire extinguishers. We actually recycle those. We have a junior firefighter camp in the summer for all the kids activity, and they get to simulate doing the fire extinguisher, putting out fires. So we actually reuse those. So it's kind of a great way. So if you're moving, cleaning out the garage, and you got an old fire extinguisher, you're not sure what to do, just take it by the station and we'll take it. And we'll end up repurposing it for another reason. So just want to let you know those some of the things that are going on in our community. And other than that, we'll take any questions.
Chief, real quick on the creation of the ESD2, that was really an overlay for ambulance services. So
That is
most
correct.
stations could have, they just, I know the one off Copper Canyon Road
That
just
is
received the ambulance, but that's really to upgrade that service, correct?
That's correct. And so obviously, we've purchased from that, we've been able to purchase 2 more ambulances that are coming. They're actually replacements. And so it's allowing us to do more EMS wise for sure. That's been the main purpose. One more thing I want to talk about, I meant to talk about this is as part of our strategic plan, we had 6 initiatives, 24 goals, 79 objectives. And we gave a report at the stakeholder meeting, kind of an update. We're about almost 20% done of our 3-year plan. But of those 79 objectives, what I'm most proud of is considering our past, everything we've been through, one of our objectives was when we did our audit, we wanted within 3 years to have no material weakness. And if you're an accountant, you know what that means. That means you need some significant things you need to fix. Well, we do a lot of hard work and a lot of auditing and a lot of things we've been working on. We turned in an audit and it got approved with basically no material weakness. So it's a huge accomplishment for us anyways. And so it says a lot about a lot of the hard work that's been going on behind the scenes. So, it's something I'm very proud of we've been able to do. So other than that.
Well, considering where you've come from, that's quite an achievement.
Yes, I didn't think it's possible. I thought, because last year we fixed something, but we still knew we had a long way to road. I didn't know if we'd get it done this year.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chief.
thanks.
Next item on the agenda was a public hearing for a zoning change application. The applicant has withdrawn that application, so there's no need for a public hearing. With that said, let's move to consent agenda. All of you have that. There are 3 items in the consent agenda: the March 10 minutes, the March financials, and Resolution 25-05 nominating Sue Timmel to the Denko Area 911 District Board of Managers.
Mayor Pro Tem, Sue had just called before the meeting and said she was unfortunately had a conflict and couldn't be here tonight, but appreciate y'all's consideration for nominating her for that.
Yeah, you all have her resume in front of you. You know her well. And she has been a very faithful steward of the town that prior. So I see no issues in approving that tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Chase, second by Councilmember Gibson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Thank you. Action items. First action item is to discuss and take action regarding appointing Mark Pape to the Board of Directors of Upper Trinity Water District for a 4-year term, starting June 1st, 2025 through May 31st of 2029. Mark, would you care to make any comments before this action item?
I would very much appreciate being appointed again. I've now done this for 4 years. It's right in my wheelhouse in terms of my area of expertise. And I'm happy to represent Copper Canyon at the Upper Trinity if you so choose to nominate me again for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, question. I know Upper Trinity has, and Bartonville Water have some kind of relationship there. Do we have any representatives on Bartonville Water or Cross Timbers? Or how did, yeah.
I don't know that we have represented some of our former head of TNC is on this board.
Okay.
On names. I'm not sure, because I don't deal with, projects other than pay by water.
Oh, that's good.
Andre's on the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's on the board.
Yep.
And there's one other Woodland resident on the board. Can't think of his name.
Yeah, I thought there was. Other questions for Mark? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve Mark on the Water Board of Fraternity.
Second. All right. So I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Congratulations, Mark. Thank you very much. Your service is appreciated. The next two appointments are for assistant judges recommended by our presiding judge. And that net is we need to have a couple of alternates in case our judge can't make a session. So I think it's prudent for us to put in place that structure so that we don't have lapse in court cadence if she can't make it. The first action is to consider Richard E. Anderson as an assistant municipal judge and magistrate for 2 years, beginning on May 1st, 2025, and continuing through midnight of April 30th, 2027. Any questions? Resumes are in the packet. You've seen them. Do I have a
No
motion?
questions.
I make a motion, we appoint this as.
So you're making a motion that we appoint Richard E. Anderson as assistant municipal judge and magistrate. I have a motion by Councilmember Andrews. Do I have a second? A second by Councilmember Liebert. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Second, same action, assistant municipal judge and magistrate Robin A. Ramsey for 2 years beginning May 1st, 2025 and ending midnight April 30th, 27.
And Judge Ramsey was our previous judge as well, so he knows us very well and is willing to step in as a assistant
Yeah.
judge.
Indeed. Questions, comments? Motion.
Make a motion to approve Robin Ramsey as the Carp Canyon Assistant Municipal Judge and Magistrate.
I have a motion by Councilmember Chase. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Second, Councilmember Andrews. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Last, discuss, consider, and take action regarding approving the authorization for professional services agreement with Teal, Nail, and Perkins to perform services related to updating the town's engineering design manual. Chris, would you provide some context to this, please, so we understand what we're looking at here?
Yep.
And I'd also like you to elaborate, if you don't mind, going back to some public interest on how do we make sure we're getting value for our money?
Okay.
Thank you.
So the first part is a little bit of a walkthrough, as has been discussed a little bit lately. The engineering manual that we currently have is from about 2012. That includes all of the appendices, the checklist, the iSwim version that we're referencing. So the purpose of this is really an overhaul to go back through that. We are excluding a couple sections. We're excluding the water and sanitary sections because of just some feedback we've received on whether or not that level of effort is worth it to go back through that at this point. In terms of some context and some discussion, what we've included in here is 2 meetings. And so the way we put this is it's kind of open-ended. It's 2 meetings for up to 2 hours. So it'll be if we want to do it as a stakeholder level meeting or a meeting at council or something like that. And then, so the walkthrough is really.
Public meetings? When you say meetings, you're talking about accessible by the public?
It'll be accessible by the public, but it will not be a presentation as in a board presented public meeting. We will, at the end of this operation though, present to council. So the way we see it is evaluate what we think needs to be changed, present that, receive feedback, present the new version of that, receive feedback, and then turn in a final product to council for review and approval.
But there will be plenty of opportunity for citizens to have input and
Absolutely. Yep.
you know,
So, yeah, so
feedback on what's going on in that process before it gets to presentation phase, correct?
absolutely. What I think we'd like to see, and Troy, correct me if I'm wrong, if this gets authorized today, we'd like to put out there to the town at that point right away, seeking feedback. And then by the time we do our first walkthrough to present, we're already having accommodated some of that feedback.
Good.
Why is it different explained than our development standards review? We're going through that now.
Okay.
And why there's not, like, we have a committee, there's
Yep.
not, maybe not one, maybe that's not why. We typically have a staff to explain the difference.
It was really a focus. So the what we've been doing, the town has been doing lately, has been really focused on the subdivision ordinances. So it's been purely focused on town ordinances to get those in line with state requirements, to kind of get those updated and get those set. And then the engineering manual will follow those. So we're gonna incorporate the changes that council approves at an ordinance level and get all that included into the engineering manual, the checklist, the appendices and everything, kind of make them all tie back together.
Are the two coordination meetings, Chris, are they going to be like a workshop type arrangement?
We weren't exactly sure. We put in time. So the way I did it is I just put in some time to be present and to incorporate that. So whether it is a stakeholder, a larger, it's always a catch-22. If you get too many people in a room, it's really hard to focus on something versus feedback. So what I did is I just put in some time to handle however we want to manage that meeting.
So what I would suggest that you do to be inclusive is to schedule the times for these workshops. And then I would put a notice out for an RSVP.
Okay.
Let's say we get 100 people that say they want to come to the first workshop. That's probably not going to happen.
Yep.
But if it happens, that's okay. I think you can facilitate that workshop in the context of having 100 people involved. You use different methods and tools perhaps, but you could still incorporate the voices and the minds of 100 people. If 10 people decide they want to come, it's a different structure.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would let it be iterative. I would put it out for everybody, let people have a date. If they want to come and we get more than we think, no problem. In fact, great. The more the merrier. And then have it facilitated appropriately.
Is it a red line or a complete repeal in place?
I would call it red line. I'd call it red line. So the whole manual itself is about 390 pages. And so we'll probably get into 50 pages, just as a real rough guess.
Right. Yeah, and I think part of the guidance to everybody from a transparency standpoint is what are we looking at? Why are we looking at that, not the 250 pages that we're not looking at?
Okay.
Yeah, which parts are you going to spend? I mean, part one is
So
have a page. So where would most of your time be allocated?
page 6 of the proposal is where we kind of dig into the scope of services. What we see as the biggest focuses are your geometric standards, so your actual design standards, your drainage standards, and then the ISWIM, which is really a drainage focused part of your appendices. And then tying those back together with, the utility requirements and soils and just kind of, so a good example of something we would probably hardly touch is all the hydraulic soil data,
Right.
because hasn't changed a whole
It's not
lot.
going to change much.
But there's pieces of that we have to tie back into the drainage and how we utilize that.
So it says like most of the value is being spent on the drainage and reconstruction of our manual.
Yes, yep. The part 2, part 4, and appendix G are where the lion's share of the effort's going to be. And then obviously the checklists that accommodate whatever changes we make.
Is it because we just haven't had a good set of design standards now, or things have changed so much?
It's more the change. It's more getting them in line with what we're going to do with the ordinance. There's been comments in the past about, requirements for the pavement structure, the different PSI pavement structures. The town has really focused a lot on the private streets over the last several years. So kind of getting a good standard for that and getting that set up moving forward, mostly those kind of things.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed since the last time this was updated.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, if I'm a layperson sitting in the audience, I want to know, what are you focusing on?
Yep.
From a priority standpoint, drainage is probably the biggest concern.
Sure.
As we've known for quite some time. So I think focusing there is, but there is an opportunity if you get into the work that you think other things need to be addressed, that should come up as well.
Absolutely. So the first part of this under the consultant, so the bottom third of the page 6, we actually want to have, so Mandy, who I'm sure a bunch of you have met over the times, Mandy Clark will really do the drainage front end stuff. So she's going to dig into the manual and come up with some of the different criteria for allowable floodplain rises, downstream assessments, just kind of your both approach to how we manage water in the town and then approach to how any kind of development needs to manage water. And that'll kind of be the first part of that process.
Chris, will they be looking at the master plan? We had that water study done some time ago. Will that be interfaced together with what you're talking about here?
Not really. Only so much as that identified improvements that we'd like to make in terms of how to manage the Poindexter. It won't really tie in a whole lot to how we're engineering the town as a whole. Meaning that a lot of that is related specifically to floodplain, which we really don't, as a town, have nearly as much control as like the TFMA does.
That was the point I really wanted you to make, because something, a lot of people think we can go out here and do different things to
Yeah,
control that water, and we cannot do that.
that's absolutely
And that's,
correct.
We get into state law and all that kind of thing. So that was the point I was trying to make, because it sounds like you're gonna fix it all. We're not fixing it all in a sense. We're adjusting what we can and make it easier to navigate through, I believe, is what I would.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because that is the Poindexter Creek, which is basically coming right through the middle of town. We basically, in all intents and purposes, need to stay out of it. Our hands are very tied. If we do anything upstream, it messes with somebody downstream. If we do stuff downstream, it messes with upstream. So it's a really fine line between what as a town we want to manipulate anywhere in that watershed.
We want to make sure that our developers understand
Absolutely.
that nuance and that they're being responsible about managing the drainage.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
The funds for this 38,000, that's part of what we allocated in September last year for standards and ordinance updates.
That is correct. So under professional services.
So there's been 2 projects so far, subdivision and this one.
Correct.
Okay.
And then also the internal assessment we did all came out of that same line
Right.
item.
Yep, thank you.
And are we busting the budget with this?
No, we're not.
Not even close.
Yeah, we're still within.
Okay. Other comments, questions? Any other context, Chris, on this? That was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add, but if there's any
Okay.
questions.
I think all that I've heard prior to the meeting about interest in this or concern about this, I think we've addressed in the discussion. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Tignall and Perkins contract.
I have a motion from Councilmember Liebert. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Gibson. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Any other future agenda items, folks? That ends the action items. Anything else? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. Thanks, folks, for coming out. How are you? See you.